Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar. I want to go through and do a little bit of housekeeping. Can everybody hear me? Please raise your hands. Press your little hand raise button if you cannot. I don't see anyone's hands going up, so that is a good sign. My name is Amal Maruki. I am the Director of Legislative Affairs for AIA Pennsylvania, and I want to thank you all for joining us today. We have a really great webinar planned for you, and I'm really excited to talk about our Pennsylvania Legislative Action Network and how you can get involved. So I'm going to share my screen so that you can see what I have going on in my view. So all of you are here on this webinar today because you responded to this email. And I want to thank you for responding to this email. We are starting the Pennsylvania Legislative Action Network here in the state, kind of as a supplement to the Legislative Action Network that National has put on. So every day in Pennsylvania, state legislators in Harrisburg make decisions that affect the practice of architecture and the built environment. While you are busy doing your jobs, creating a better built environment for the health, safety, and welfare of the public, legislation is being passed. So we want you to have an active hand in giving your feedback to the legislators and to carry out the message that we are sending via our channels. So I am going to walk you through what we are going to be doing today. Here's our plan. I'm going to tell you a little bit about AIA Pennsylvania as the statewide organization of AIA. I'm going to give you a little bit of grassroots and advocacy 101. I'm going to talk about our plan program and what that means. I'm also going to talk about what it means to be a plan captain, which I would hope by the end of this you would all be able to join on as plan captains. And then I'm going to talk about next steps. So if you have any questions, please hold them until the end of the webinar. And if you are having any audio problems, I believe that Olivia is on the other end of the computer, and she will be able to assist you with those. Please just raise your hands if you cannot hear anything. So, AIA Pennsylvania. AIA Pennsylvania is the statewide component of AIA. AIA is a three-tiered organization. We have a national, a state, and a local. And AIA Pennsylvania is obviously the statewide component. We have 8 local chapters that are underneath the state, and we represent those chapters as well. We represent nearly 3,000 individual members, and we are advocating on behalf of those members to the public and to the legislature. We are governed by a board of directors that represent all of our 8 local components. And we are staffed by 3 amazing individuals. Steve Swarney is our executive director. His email address is there. Me, Amal Maruki, I am the director of legislative affairs. And Olivia Perry, she is our manager of communications and membership relations. If you have any other questions about everything that we do at AIA Pennsylvania, since I will likely mostly be talking about the legislative side, the policy side, the advocacy side, the grassroots side, please visit our website, aiapennsylvania.org. So, AIA Pennsylvania, as the statewide organization, has a mission. And I love our mission statement. I think that it's really important to be reminded of it as we move forward in everything that we do. So I'm going to read it to you. In representing, serving, and communicating the interests of our local chapters and individual members, AIA Pennsylvania promotes the profession of architecture throughout the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania while striving for the highest quality in the built environment. So there are lots of ways that we can achieve our mission. We also have goals in addition to missions. And our #1 strategic goal is to protect and enhance a state legal and regulatory framework that fosters high-quality, sustainable development and is favorable to the architecture profession. So, moving on to advocacy and grassroots and the political process, which is a lot of what we do at AIA Pennsylvania. It's one of our prime directives. We have a government affairs committee that also has representatives from each individual local chapter. And what we do as staff is we track all the legislation that is introduced by the General Assembly, and we say, hey, this might be important for our members, or this could change the profession of architecture, or this creates sustainable design regulation, and we think this is a good thing. So anytime we see legislation that might affect the profession, we give it to our Government Affairs Committee. Underneath the Government Affairs Committee, there are also subcommittees. We have subcommittees on everything from energy, the environment, to education, to building codes, to practice law. And if it is specialized enough, it will go to one of those subcommittees for comment. So that's really where we get our positions and where we get our issue briefs and where we decide where we are at on a certain issue. It's all governed by the Government Relations Committee and by those individual subcommittees. So I am going to get into the General Assembly a little bit, but first I want to send out a poll, and I want to ask you how many of you can name your legislators. So I'm going to give you a couple minutes to participate in that poll. Let me know when you're ready, or don't let me know when you're ready. I'll give you a couple more seconds, and then I will check out the answers. All right, the numbers are looking pretty promising. 80% of you have said, yes, I can name my state representative and state senator, so that is great. We're on a good start. The Pennsylvania General Assembly. We like to say that all politics is local. It's not a new thing. It's kind of cliche. Everybody says it, but it is because it is true. The Pennsylvania General Assembly is comprised of 50 senators. Each of those senators serves a 4-year term, and they each represent approximately 246,000 constituents. We also have a House of Representatives, and there are 203 House reps. They serve 2-year terms, and they represent approximately 60,000 constituents. So that is 253 legislators that each have an opinion, that each have different constituents asking them for things. There are obviously a majority and a minority. Currently in Pennsylvania, we have a Democratic administration, Governor Wolf's administration, and the majority in both the House and the Senate are Republican. If you have any questions on who your legislators are, the website that, I don't know if you can click on it, if it's linked in the webinar, but I can send these out as PDFs later on, is legis.state.pa.us. That is the state legislative website, and all the information that you need regarding the General Assembly or regarding legislation is on there. So, next on my list of things to address is how a bill becomes a law. So I have the little Schoolhouse Rock bill there, and that's actually linked as well in the legislative process because I think it's cute. But how a bill becomes a law. So a legislator either hears from a constituent or sees a problem in their district and says, hey, there can be legislation that can fix this problem. So a legislator will introduce a bill. That bill will be referred to a committee. The committee will deliberate on that bill, and they will decide whether or not they need to have a hearing on it or whether or not, hey, this is pretty non-controversial, we're going to send it through to the floor for a vote. It's voted on the floor, and then it's passed over to the other chamber, and vice versa. So once a bill passes both houses, it is then sent to the governor's desk, and it is voted on. It is really hard to get a bill signed into law. It's a long process, it's a hard process, and it requires a lot of advocacy. So, advocacy is public support for or recommendation of a particular cause or policy. And advocacy is very, very important when you are trying to get legislation passed. Legislators need to be educated on the issues. They need to know why this is good for them, why this is good for the public, why this is good for our district, for their district, and how it will improve whatever process they're looking at. Another important part of getting legislation passed is grassroots. So, grassroots uses the people in a given district as the basis for a political or economic movement. grassroots movements and organizations utilize collective action from the local level to affect change at the local, regional, national, or even international level. Grassroots movements are associated with bottom-up rather than top-down decision-making. So we want to use grassroots advocacy. Every person, cause, and business has a story to tell, and there is strength in numbers. So at the local level, if you are talking to your legislator about an issue that is important to you in the district, they are likely going to take that back to Harrisburg and say, hey, my people at home are telling me that I need to vote this way on this bill because this is how it's going to affect them. So we are really working on building a grassroots advocacy network with our plan. So we have a plan. We have a plan to get everyone involved in this grassroots advocacy network at the local level so that it can transcend to the state level and we can have useful policy that is enacted in Pennsylvania. Our plan, our Pennsylvania Legislative Action Network goals. Our goals are to build a stronger and more professional relationships with state legislators and their staff. Staff is very, very important. A lot of these legislators, as you saw in one of the previous slides, have tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of constituents that they serve. So they need their staff to help them provide service to those constituents that they work for. Our number 2 goal is to provide opportunities for members to advocate for themselves and for the profession of architecture. And number 3, we would like to increase the number of AIA Pennsylvania members engaged in legislative activities. And how do we want to do that? We want you. We want you to join the plan. We want you to be involved. So I have another poll for you. Have you met with your local legislators? I would like to see if you've met with them in the last year, maybe since the last election. Have you met them, and let me know. And I also see that Olivia has put in the chat box that if you don't know who your legislators are, you can find them through that link. Going back to this poll, though. All right. I'm going to close it. 13% have said yes, they've met with both their senator and their representative. 22, they've met with their state senator and representative. And 56% said no, but after today, I'm ready to schedule face-to-face. And I love that. I don't know if we made you say that you're ready or if that's actually you volunteering. So that poll has been closed. But again, back to plan. Here's how we want you to get involved. We want you to commit today to developing a relationship with the legislators that represent you in Harrisburg. You are their boss. You vote for them. Your vote is what keeps them in office and what allows them to remain your representative here in Harrisburg. So develop a relationship with them. They have your vote, and if they didn't get your vote, still go develop a relationship with them and maybe see if you can get on the same page with them in regards to other issues. We would like you to call or email your legislator's district office and set up a meeting with both your state representative and your state senator or their staff. It can be like a 15-minute, half-an-hour meeting. Hi, my name is Amal. I'm a constituent, and I want to introduce myself. I am a recent graduate of architecture school. I went here. This is what I do. This is my role. That's what they want to know. They want to know your story. They want to know the individuals that they are representing here in Harrisburg. The other thing that you can do at this meeting is take pictures. One of the things that I recently did when I moved into this Director of Legislative Affairs position is I started a Twitter for work. And I started following all of these different legislators. And you can learn so much about them as individuals by following their social media. They love it. They love to participate in social media. They love it when you take pictures and share them on social media. It's a really, really great network and a really, really great way for them to interact with their constituents. So take pictures. In this meeting, be sure to tell them that you are an AIA member and that they can use AIA Pennsylvania as a resource. Establish yourself as an expert in your field. And after this meeting, tell a friend. Go back to your firm. Tell someone that you just got to meet with Senator so-and-so and they were really receptive to everything that you were saying and to your concerns as a business owner, as an emerging professional, as an established professional, as a taxpayer, as a property owner. All of these things are important and they're things that these legislators need to know. And it also helps you to develop a relationship with them. We really want you to develop this personal relationship. That way, if there is something that is going on here at the state level at AIA Pennsylvania, there's a bill that our Government Affairs Committee says, hey, we need to support this. This will create sustainable design elements or LEED accredited buildings for all the state buildings. It'll be good for the profession. We want to be able to send that to you and you can say, hey, Senator, I know I met with you. We're friends now, so I want you to support this legislation. It's important to me. So that's what we would like for this relationship to look like. After you have that initial meeting and you tell your friends how amazing that meeting was, send me an email and tell me about your meetings. Tell me how they went. Tell me whether or not they were receptive. Tell me everything about it. I want to know because I want to know how they respond to their individual constituents so that maybe I can follow up with them and say, and name drop and say, hey, I know that you met with Howard last week. Can you please tell me how that went? Howard's a great guy, this and that. So let me know if you have these meetings. If you were having these meetings, you didn't get a chance to follow up, maybe once every 2 months, let me know how you're fostering these relationships. I just ran into my senator at the farmer's market on Saturday and ended up talking to him for 15 minutes. So these are instances. You'll be able to see these people because they are in your local community, depending on, what type of urban center you are, how rural your district is. You're going to run into them, and it'll be nice if you'd be able to have that conversation at the grocery store or in the farmer's market, and maybe something will come up that you didn't necessarily plan to talk about in your initial meet and greet. Secondly, on our list of things to do next, recruit and inspire other AIA members and friends to be part of our plan. Something that I didn't really talk about when I was talking about advocacy and grassroots is how inspiring it can be to advocate for your profession, to advocate for your well-being, to advocate for a better built environment, to advocate for more sustainable design practices, to advocate for somebody to have an easier time starting and maintaining their own business. I really think of it as inspiring, and I hope that some of you can really find how inspiring it can be as well. Use the leverage of your new relationship to respond to any action alerts that we may send out. So that's what I was touching on previously. Let's say there's a co-sponsor memo that is out in the Senate. Senator Rafferty, this is actually real, Senator Rafferty has sent out a co-sponsor memo. He's looking for support from other senators for this memo regarding mandatory continuing education for architects. Send your senator an email and let him know that Senator Rafferty has this, he needs support, and you support it as a constituent. That's what we mean by responding to any action alerts. And next, we would like for you to join the National Legislative Action Network. If you're interested in state issues, you might be interested in national issues as well. All politics is local, and it works its way up. So the National Legislative Action Network exists as well, and you can find more information about that on AIA.org. After your initial meetings, we want you to follow up with your legislators at Architects Action Day on March 22nd at the Pennsylvania State Capitol. So I don't know how many of you have participated in Architects Action Day before, but it is an amazing experience to have a group of architects come together at the Capitol and say, hey, we are at the Capitol, we are pounding pavement for our industry. We are going to talk to all of our legislators and let them know that we are here. Yes, we see you in the district, but we are taking our time to come to Harrisburg to talk to you about our issues here and to really see what goes on here in Harrisburg. If you've never been to the Capitol, it's an awe-inspiring experience. So we would really like to see you here at Architects Action Day. And if you can find time in your schedule, please schedule a district meeting before. And then it's just one more follow-up, and it's one more notch in developing this relationship with your legislators. So right now, where we're at right now is we have a plan. And as architects, as designers, you know that plans don't necessarily come to fruition without funding. So we also have the Pennsylvania Architects PAC. This is the Political Action Committee of AIA Pennsylvania, and it is set up as a different entity with different bylaws and a different board. And they look at the political climate, and we really look to support legislators that support our cause. So we not only want your donation here, we also want your action, which is why they go hand in hand. Yes, we do need donations to remain vital and to encourage a healthy discussion and to have our voices heard. But we also want your physical action as well, which is where the meetings come in. This is a little infographic that we have on why I should donate to the Pennsylvania Architects PAC. Their strength in numbers. We could have a loud collective voice as the Pennsylvania Architects PAC. It enables architects to approach vital policy matters through a well-organized, united front. So it's really important. The PAC is very, very important. And again, you can't have your plan come to fruition without funding. And this is a funding mechanism. So next, the future plans for plan. We would like to have a point person or a captive for each of the 253 legislative districts. That's a lot. That's a lot of legislative districts. That's a lot of individual members. That's a lot of, it's a lot of work. And we know that that's not going to happen tomorrow, but it's something that we would like to work toward. And that is one of our goals. That way, when there is an issue that is important to architects or that could change the architecture profession forever, we can say, hey, we sent out this action alert and we have one person for each of the 253 legislators that has an individual relationship with them that can say, hey, I'm your friend. This is how this affects me. Please vote yes on this. Or, hey, I'm your friend. This could really hurt my business. This could really hurt your district. This could hurt business owners in your district. Please vote no on this. So that is our hope, is to have a point person or captive for each legislative district. Eventually, we would like to have all of our plan captains be well-versed on the AIA Pennsylvania issues and on our policies that are dictated by the Government Affairs Committee, which is a sampling of all of the local components, and those individual subcommittees are samplings of people that are working in that industry. For example, Education Subcommittee. Those are mostly architects that work primarily on K through 12 education, and PlanCon. So they are the experts on that specific portion of this building industry. So we would like the plan captains to also know about the issues that we are just talking about. Our next future goal is to have all plan captains responding to those action alerts that I've mentioned numerous times previously. And then lastly, we want to build a robust grassroots network to benefit architects and to improve the health, safety, and welfare of the public. That is something that throughout my time at AIA has always been the backbone of our arguments, and the backbone of really where our policy decisions have come from, is does this benefit the health, safety, and welfare of the public? And if not, how can we change it so that it can benefit the health, safety, and welfare of the public? So, will you be part of our plan? I'm going to send out my final poll, and I would really like to see if any of you are interested, and I would hope so. So I'll give you a couple seconds. Oh, I'm loving these answers. I'm loving these answers, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you. We have 60% voted, 70. Maybe we'll get a couple more. 80% of you said that you would love to be part of this plan, so I'm very, very excited about that. So with that said, let's keep calm and take action. And I am ready for any of your questions that you would like to ask. So bear with me as I do this technology thing and try and find out which window these questions are in. If you have any questions, please type them into the question box or into the chat box, as I have just found both of those. Wow, are you telling me that I did a really good job? Are you telling me that there are really no questions right now? All right. Okay. Well, with that said, I am available for any questions. Oh, the only thing that I forgot to put on this last slide is my contact information. So let me go back to the first slide where I said everything about AIA Pennsylvania. There's my email address right here. Please feel free to give me a call. Let me know if there's anything that I can do or if there's any more information that I can provide on the plan, on our Pennsylvania Legislative Action Network, and how you can be part of it. What are your plans to keep the captains informed? Tom, that's a great question. So our next step is to send out to everyone that has been interested or that has volunteered to be a captain, is to ask them to have these legislative meetings. We will also be communicating via email. I think we're going to get a Google Drive together, and that's where we will plug in all of our materials, all of our issue briefs, all of our action items, and really just a legislative update on legislation that we're tracking, legislation that's moving. But typically it'll be via email is how we will keep the captains informed. All right, how much did the PAC raise in the last few years? What are the future goals? What is the targeted amount per member you have as a goal? It's a great question. So in the last year, we only saw $5,000 in PAC donations. We have had, through the PAC committee, we have a goal of raising $50,000 this year. And in doing the basic math, we have about 3,000 members. So 3,000, 50,000 divided by 3,000, that's like $16. If every member donated $16, we would be able to reach our goal of 50,000. But getting 100% participation of the membership for the PAC is a hard ask. So anything that you are able to give. Targeted amount is at least $16 per member, but we would love to see you give anything that you can give. We also have implemented on the PAC website that you can do monthly donations. So this is something that we've really been talking to our emerging professionals about. Monthly donations, match your Netflix subscription. Give us $9 a month. We can set that up. It'll come out automatically. You can have it stop at any time. So that's the different mechanisms for donating to the PAC. Good question, though. Does anyone else have any other questions that I could answer? Okay. So we will be communicating what next steps are for the plan captains via email and via a shared Google Drive folder. And in the meantime, please set up your meetings. Go introduce yourself to your senators and representatives if you have not done so yet. Let me know how it goes. All right. I want to thank you all for being here. Thank you all for being part of the Pennsylvania Legislative Action Network, and I look forward to working with everyone very soon. Okay, thank you so much.